Okay. So my premise is that if that's the thinking that's been in place for the last, I don't know, say 10 to 15 years or so, is that too narrow? Do we have to reimagine what it is we're governing? Because I say governance is a general approach to putting policies around the things that help me create a better world for myself. But if we think of data as something we're governing by itself, my premise is that that's too narrow. We have to broaden our thinking. Now, why is that? It's because we want to make money in our companies or some other forms of value. So it could be monetary value, like profit, or it could be non-monetary, like safety or security or a cleaner environment. So some form of value is really what we're after. The data is a stepping stone to getting there. It's an indirect link. And if we don't recognize that data is an indirect link and we govern it by itself in isolation, we may not actually produce the business value we're looking for because we're too focused on the indirect component. So what I'm recommending here, and I'm discussing here in this line of thinking, is we have to shift our thinking from simply governing data to governing data value. Now, and I've already said that data by itself doesn't provide value. It's an enabler of value. So we have to think about how to construct some kind of a model or some sort of a perspective on the role that data plays in producing true measurable value for an organization. And this is part of what I'm talking, because this will come back to our scope definition of what it is we're governing. And I want to introduce now the concept of what's called the value stream. It's sometimes called the value chain or a value stream. And I'm going to show you a diagram in a second. But we're going to recognize that if we're trying to produce sustainable business value where data is an enabler of that, data is only one of the components. Much like the analogy, if you're making a nice pot of chili, the meat or the beans or the onions are just one of the components to that. But we want to blend them together to make a great pot of chili. And so it's the value stream that connects things that I really believe we have to start to govern. And that is going to have us, it's going to make us sort of think about this a little bit differently. So we can't independently look at data by itself to create value, but data value is what we should care about. So we want to actually, I believe, start to think about governing data value streams, not just the data, which means we have a broader challenge on our hands to understand how to actually do that.